met. Okay, that was a very terrible accent attempt, and I do apologize. This is Breezy Reviews. This is a thing I like to do on my YouTube channel for Breezyville. Where I'm going to review TV shows, movies, music, stuff like that. Anything that's worth reviewing. So, as you know, if you've been following me, we've been going down this whole series called Little Fires Everywhere. And oh my gosh, it has Kerry Washington, Reese Witherspoon, and Sophia Robb, and everything is so good. And I love it. I would give it an 8 out of 10, honestly. Can't give everything 10 out of 10 because it's not that, because that would be saying something. But anyway, if you're new here, hit that like button, ring that bell for notifications. Also, please subscribe. Now, this episode is called Picture Perfect, which I think is kind of important for us in the future. Keep that in mind as we dive into this episode a little bit. But this episode starts off in July 1997 with April and Izzy walking to a party with their future classmates. So, this is where we see that they were playing the game of Spin the Bottle that plays to 7 Minutes in Heaven. Now, Izzy spins the bottle and it lands on April, and she goes to change up the guys like this is the 90s after all. And she tries to, and so they're in the bottle, they're in the closet, and everything, literally, they're in the closet. And April's trying to talk her out of it, saying maybe we shouldn't do this, but Izzy convinces her that they do this all the time. It's just that some place different. And they start to kiss and stuff. Now, April is 3. It's like when the door opens, April hesitates and it basically says, it's like, I thought you two were friends. And she's like, not, she just sexually molested me. This, of course, leaves Izzy very upset, very betrayed, and everything else, and she storms away from the party. And we can see a lot of why she keeps getting bullied. Now, let's jump to December 1997 now, where the Richardsons pull up to their house, which I'm going to go ahead and add that sucks. But I think it suits Selena too because um, of her parenting, just the way she wanted to keep it basic and all that. So, Bill stayed home. So the family, except for Bill, stayed home from the tree lighting service, and it's the night before the trial starts. And I feel like this is also like where attorney-client privilege should be strongly enforced here. I get they're friends with the clients and all that, but still, you know what I mean. But Elena is clearly upset, and Bill points out that about her going to New York playing Nancy Drew. Now, meanwhile, at the restaurant, Mia and Bibi are meeting with their lawyer as they prepare for trial, and Bibi tells her lawyer that Mia is the only one that she wants there, and Bibi trusts Mia at this point, after all she's footing her attorney fees bill and everything. And back at the Richardsons, Izzy is still upset about Lexi being over at Mia's. And Lexi takes a cheap shot and tells her not to worry that her girlfriend is not dumping her before her walks away. Now at school, it puts a note in April's locker and everything. So, let's jump to the courthouse now. Mia and Bibi arrive. They see a bunch of reporters outside, so Mia drives around and basically looks for an entrance in where there's not a lot of reporters. Now, Bibi is taking the stand, and Mia being the only one on her side, I think that's kind of important for us to remember that the only one on Bibi's side is Mia. And that's kind of, but when like Linda has like 6 to 7 people on her side testifying and everything. But Mia is shocked to find out that she knows what happened, and she even. So, one thing I want to put out, Bill uses a photo of Mirabelle's her hand being frostbitten, and Alina and everything. Now, Alina and Mia are in the bathroom talking. Alina tells her that she basically knows what happened she did to the Ryans, and Mia is shocked to find out that she knows what happened. She even tells her that she met her parents too. And Alina also points out that it's interesting how she is a character witness, and Mia then proceeds to cry when Alina's. And I think it's also important because Alina basically threatened her at this point. It also could have potentially ruined the case for Bill and Linda and Mark. Now, Lexi and Brian are at school talking, and Brian is trying to convince her to come over. And Lexi still hasn't had sex with him since the abortion and all of that and everything. And it's been like a month now, so we're gonna go ahead and put that out there. But Moody gets in and everything. He basically asks about the meeting and finds out that Pearl is lying to him and is confused why. So on the way home, Moody is still going on about it. Lexi's like, okay, quit talking about it, dude. Basically. But she gets home, she sees her mom standing there like with something behind her back, and she pulls out Lexi's acceptance letter and everything. And hugs Lexi, and Lexi gives her a half smile. Meanwhile, Trip and Pearl are in the trailer. Remember the trailer we were talking about at the very beginning of this? Literally, the first episode I talked about? Yeah, that trailer. Now, Alina. Now, and after Richardson's, Alina gives Lexi, meanwhile, are talking. Now, he tries to tell her to come over, but she tells him she can't because of everything going on. Now, at the Richardsons, Alina gives Lexi a gift about how she tells her in the families that were doing their photos. It's picture perfect. Lexi is messaging April in this, and Alina is making a toast and I can tell the guilt is starting to set in for Lexi. Now, meanwhile, at the restaurant, Mia walks into the restaurant and tells Bibi that she can't testify. And this, of course, leaves her upset and confused. And basically, Bibi tells her, you afraid to lose your child is gonna make me lose mine." Basically. Now, back at the Richardsons, Izzy and Alina get into this huge argument about a certain type of shoes to wear, and Izzy calls her by a name, calls her Alina by her actual name, and points out that she calls her name, she hates being called every day. It's important to note, Isabel hates being called. Izzy hates being called Isabel and everything, and she prefers to be called Izzy. Everyone in her family respects that except for Alina. And Alina snaps and basically makes Izzy go put the shoes on. So, and back at the Warrens, Mia is talking to Pearl, telling her that she is testifying. They get into a fight, and Mia comes clean about paying Bibi's legal fees, and Pearl rightfully is upset. Like, they've been living like this for so long that she gets upset by it. Like, she could have had a better clothes and stuff like that. But back at the Richardsons, Bill and Alina are talking about the trial, and Bill gets upset at Alina, rightfully so, for threatening Mia and everything else. And he's also worried that Alina is coming unhinged at the same time. So, meanwhile, later that night, April brings Izzy some stuff for an art project, and she tries to get answers about what did she really do. And April apologizes, tells her that she was scared and freaked out. And April, we can tell, isn't ready for that side for her to be out yet. And Izzy gets to learn to a false sense of security and everything else, and tells her that she needs to stop trying to be somebody she's not. And they start going through the dolls for this project that Izzy is working on. Meanwhile, Alina is talking to Bill in his office. She tries telling him all she tries to do is help people. And after Alina goes back up, Bill makes a phone call. Now, at Shaker Eyes, Izzy brings a box of dolls and she sets up a table and protests. The students point out the racism, and she knows, I know. But she's pointing out about the whole adoption issue there in itself. And she just doesn't understand I don't think she understands. Like, she's protesting, but she's not sure what she's protesting yet. And April basically shows her true colors, saying that, and she's still scared too about girls that still play with dolls and all of that. Now, in the courtroom, Mia takes the stand, and they bring up the payout. Remember how I said to put a pin in that? Well, Alina tries to figure out why Bill had not for questions. He tells her to sit down, and he should have. Alina basically, to me, I feel like she should have stayed home at this point instead of being in that courtroom. Honestly, she was not. She was doing more damage than good. Now back at the high school, Moody is talking to Pearl, and he asks her about her meeting, and if she continued to lie to him. And and she did tell lies and tells him that it's fine. Now Moody's friend tells her that it's probably another guy. Moody still has no idea that she is basically seeing his brother. And I do feel so bad for Moody, and it's like he truly likes Pearl, and he's just the nice guy who finishes last. Whereas Trip's the popular jock guy everyone likes and everything else. Now, Elena gets to her office. She finds the picture that was retook. She doesn't notice a particular detail I'm not going to point out just yet. But she also gets a call from school about Izzy's behavior. Elena goes to pick Izzy up. She basically, on the way back to the car, tells her that it's hard to be your mom. And this, of course, upsets Izzy and Elena, and that's how they both regret it later, clearly. But anyway, Lexi and Brian are talking about the Ivies, and this is where Lexi's ignorance is showing and where she is showing that she is Elena made over. But showing where the fast food employee messes up her order, and Brandon points out the racial issues, and this is where Brandon brings up the essay thing in Pearl again. She basically tells him to break up with him if he can't get over it. And this is where I feel like this is truly showing her Elena side. I really do. I think Lexi is a product of her environment. Now, Pearl and Trip are in the junkyard trailer and talking about their childhood and her childhood and how upset she is. And Trip tries to comfort her. They basically end up agreeing to tell everyone about them being together. Now, meanwhile, Mia walks in looking for Pearl and she finds Izzy sitting on her couch. Mia asks what happened. Izzy basically tells her, I think I hate my mom. Mia tells her the same thing. But you can see that Mia and Izzy do have a bond. Izzy feels no one gets her in her family, and she's the outcast, but she feels Mia gets her, honestly. But back at the Richardson, Bill is giving Elena silent treatment. He points out, remember that little detail I told you about? Izzy is flipping off the camera, and Elena does not realize it. And everything, and she gets upset by this. Rightfully so. She's trying to portray this picture perfect family, but it's not all like that. Now, back at Mia, as Izzy is telling Mia about what she did at school, and Izzy points is finding it hard to be who she is from school and her mom and everything else. And Mia comes clean to Izzy about the photo, to her in the photo, that it was her in the photo. And she tells her about Pauline in the photo. Mia comforts her, telling her that we all have parts of us that we are too scared to show. And I really like the bond between the two of them because you could tell that it's there. Now, back at the Richardsons, Alina is taking Izzy out of the photos. Bill doesn't say anything and just lets her do it. He knows this is going to be fighting a useless battle. And I feel like Izzy and Alina's relationship are hitting a hot boiling point too. Like it's building up. And you could tell that tension is there and everything else. But Lexi and Brian are sitting in her room. They're having a fight and their relationship is on the rocks. Brian points out that the racial issue. He also points out that Lexi makes everything about her. Lexi also tells him that her grandma integrated Shaker and her mom Marshall MLK Jr. And he tells her, I know, I hear it every time I come over here. This is why I hate coming over here. And I can tell that Lexi truly loves him, and she comes clean to him about being under the pressure she's on and everything else. She tries to tell him about the abortion with chickens out, and they end up breaking up. But Trip and Pearl pull up to the house. Moody sees this from the window, and he puts two together, especially when he wraps his arm around her. And Alina assures him that she is always welcome. Assures Pearl that she's always welcome there. Elena basically goes to tell her the truth, which I feel like was out of her place to do so, but in Elena's mind, this was where it was helping her and everything else. Now back at Mia, she is going through some memories and staring at photos and trying to keep it together. Meanwhile, back at Elena's, Moody comes down after Trip looking for Pearl, and he asks what he's going to tell, and he said nothing when he couldn't find Pearl. Now Bill in his office looking and pulls out a cigarette, and he starts smoking, and he sees a copy of the check from when Elena was in New York. Now, back at the house, Izzy finds a part of the picture cut off. This hurts Izzy, and she is looking at photos of her in April. Now, she is sitting on the floor in her room when Lexi walks over. Izzy asks what happened. Lexi tells her she got dumped. Izzy tells her, me too. And I also want to point out that it's point out that all of the kids are sitting in the living room watching TV, which we don't see very often. And it's like a dark, gloomy atmosphere set. Now, meanwhile, Mia sees Alina dropping Pearl off, and she knows what just happened. She is mad, rightfully so, because she told her daughter not to go there. So Pearl disobeyed her. She's trying to keep it talk to Pearl, but Pearl just walks away from him, and Lena just glares at her, and Mia gives her a look and everything else. But that is it for this episode. Join me as I will be talking about my review of the finale and everything. And I'm very disappointed that I have yet to see a season 2 of this show. It'd be like that sometimes, though. I'll talk to you. I'll see y'all next time.